Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hockey fans of all ages. I am Dave Valente, and thank you for joining us on season 2 of the Scabbard. I apologize for last season. My wife went into the hospital right at the hockey break that the Sabres had heading into February, and due to her being in the hospital for a couple of months, it really much took over the rest of the season for me. But hopefully, for better health this year and a complete season of the Scabbard, where we will cover the Sabres games half hour, actually an hour before the puck drop of the games. This is actually being recorded because I'll be working tomorrow, unfortunately. But it's being recorded about 12:35 p 12:35 a.m. So a little less than 12 hours from the actual broadcast of the show, but looking forward to another season of Sabres hockey. Hopefully, this one's better. I'm sure everybody is very much anticipating a better season of Sabres hockey than what we saw last season. So let's start the show. Unfortunately, since it's not a live broadcast, we won't be taking comments. You're free to leave comments and give us a like, share, subscribe, whatever you're watching us on, whether it's Twitch, Twitter, Twix, uh, Facebook, Kick. We're on everything. So, yeah, definitely give us a like, share, subscribe. Helps it out. It helps broadcast the show out further. So, anyway, without further ado, let's get started with the show. It's kind of a season preview and a preview of today's game. So, both teams coming into this game are teams that missed the playoffs last season. The Devils missing the playoffs cost Lindy Ruff his job, and Lindy Ruff now becomes the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. What is old is new again as we start the 107th season of the NHL. It commences at 1 p.m. Eastern today with the Buffalo Sabres taking on the New Jersey Devils in Prague, Czechia. So remember, it's Czechia, not Czech Republic anymore. So keep that in mind. Yeah, the NHL Global Series kicking off the season. Sabres playing the first game of the year on October 4th. So I'm very happy to see Sabres hockey back. Hopefully to wash away the bad taste of what happened last year. Um, it was a very tough year to witness because it was so consistently inconsistent. I think is the overall theme of what happened with the Buffalo Sabres. So the good, they actually were a better defensive team last year than they were the year before, which plagued the team the year before, kept them out of the playoffs. 56 goals against drop. That's a great thing, and that really speaks to the improvement of Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in nets, especially over the last half of the season. The bad? Well, they dropped 50 goals scored last season from the previous season. They had 300 goals scored last season and dropped down to 250 in 23-24. That was a drop from 3rd in the league in 22-23 to 23rd, and they had an anemic 37 power play goals, 28th, I think, power play ranking, and the actual number of goals was 30th in the league. So definitely much room for improvement there this season. Hopefully, Lindy Ruff's system will help improve that number. The ugly can't go with any other stat other than the 13th straight season of missing the playoffs. Um, a few more seasons and this streak will be old enough to vote. So let's hopefully we don't get to 14. Hopefully this team can turn it around. I know there's been a lot of questions in the offseason when it comes to the Buffalo Sabres. Did they do enough in the offseason to secure a position in the top 8 of the Eastern Conference? That's really the only thing they can point to. This is a very much make or break season, especially for one Kevin Adams. He is now on his third coach. He um, started with the Kruger regime, and then came in, brought in Don Granado to kind of right the ship from there, and it helped. I mean, I don't think Don Granado was a bad coach. Um, I think that there are different types of coaches that you need move the ball along to get to a contender. Um, Kruger was an absolute disaster, so they had to bring in Don Granado, who was great with young kids, young players, teaching the basic fundamentals of the game, and they improved greatly. Several young players really flourished under Granado's tutelage. it was the actual fundamentals to compete that was missing, the playoff hunger that was missing in the locker room this last season that, they couldn't get out of their own way. They kept, you know, th how long was it before they got 2 wins in a row? The season was just, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss, couple losses here, 1 win, 1 loss. I mean, it was just so frustrating, especially over that front half of that season, watching the team, just sleepwalk through games. I mean, let's, we'll we can talk about that Columbus game at the end of the year and on December 29th when they got blown out. The doors got blown off 9-3. Um, Absolute just embarrassment. I think a lot of us were surprised that Don Granado survived that moment, but, the axe finally fell at the end of the season. Um, I think Adams understood that the team had a different gear to get to be able to make the playoffs. So, Lindy Ruff gets fired by New Jersey a little more than halfway through the season last year. New Jersey was plagued by goaltending issues, defense issues, lots of injuries. Um, but Ruff takes the fall despite, having brought New Jersey, uh, one of the largest point increases between seasons ever, the previous season, and, but he faces the axe the next season, and New Jersey's loss is Buffalo's regain as Lindy Ruff, comes back to the fold. The hope is that he is the one that brings the cohesiveness to get them into the playoff mindset, that they need to have. This team is no longer it is a young team, it's still a young team, but it's can no longer be considered a young team. These guys have been playing for a while, and they have to put it together. So, uh, on the news front, Rasmus Dahlin named captain of the Buffalo Sabres. So no, not a real big surprise there. There are quite a few guys that I would have considered, but Dahlin's a good solid choice, especially since he is starting the first year of an 8-year contract. So he'll be around a while, until the 2030s. So, good to have a little bit of stability in the captaincy. Although a contract doesn't really mean anything. I mean, uh, Jack Eichel was on a long contract as well. So, um, performance will be key. Rasmus Dahlin, he'll be the new captain. Alex Tuck, Tage Thompson, and Dylan Cousins on the front end will, serve as alternate captains on a rotating basis, along with Matthias Samuelsson on the back end. So we got, 5 guys, in the captain's cadre. Interesting, choices there. I don't disagree with any of them except for maybe Samuelson. I don't know. I mean, I've never really noticed how he is on the ice, whether he is, kind of in that leadership cadre, but, I don't disagree with Thompson, Cousins, or, Alex Tuck. Um, but yeah, we'll see how that goes with Rasmus Dahlin being the captain. So, who on this team do I think we need to look at this year? I think JJ Peterka is gonna be the key. That he's gonna be the straw that stirs the drink. For that first line, he's getting first line minutes this year. He's done well in the preseason, which is a good sign. It's not everything. I mean, it's also very much variable on the level of competition. The first 2 games um, in the United States that they played against Pittsburgh and I believe Columbus, they, they beat up relatively largely AHL teams. So there wasn't a whole lot of competition there. They go over to Germany, shut out, Red Bulls Munich, 5-0. JJ Peterka got a goal in that game on his home ice, so good for him. But I think that first line minutes are he's going to get a big jump out of that. I think he finished with 50 points last season, 20 goals, 22 assists. Only his second season in the NHL. Um, there's a quiet confidence to his game. I think is going to translate well onto that Tage Thompson line. And I think the thing to look out here is if if Peterka starts to really put the points in, does that take some of the pressure off of Tage Thompson and loosens up the defense for him, to open up for those howitzers from the office? So that's the time will tell with that. How will that impact the power play? Will give with having more than one option on both wings, will it benefit the power play? My hope is it does. You got to improve on 37 power play goals scored last season. That's just horrid. That is less than one every other game. That's you can't do that. All right, so a lot of change in the team this season. So out of the lineup now are Jeff Skinner, who got bought out and went to Edmonton. Sabres saved some money. They don't save everything that Jeff Skinner was making. He made $9 million. They're getting cap relief this year. Let me see what the number for the cap relief on that one. So Jeff Skinner's contract actually of the 9 million, almost half of it goes away. Next year is going to be a little brutal. It's going to be 6.4 million on the cap. So um, there's a little bit of cost savings. Sabres do have some cap space, but Jeff Skinner getting bought out, going to Edmonton. If he ends up on the line, well, I mean, either line with Draisaitl or uh, McJesus, then he should be putting up his points. I think he's going to have a good year in Edmonton. Um, he might even make the playoffs. Who knows? Zemgus Girgensons, I know he was a kind of a punching bag for a lot of people who thought, he should be, he was kind of a waste of space. I thought he did a great job on the fourth line. Like I didn't have like massive expectations for him as a fourth liner. Longest tenured Sabre, actually was the only player that was in the Sabres organization last time Lindy Ruff was coach. He was drafted just before um, few months before Lindy Ruff was let go early that season. So, um, Victor Olofsson, another favorite punching bag of Sabres fans. He goes to the Vegas Golden Knights. Tyson Jost, who was kind of a tweener last season, did clear waivers, went to Rochester. He goes to the Carolina Hurricanes. Brandon Byro went to Seattle. He had a cup of coffee with the Sabres last season. It looks like he's going to start with the Coachella Valley Firebirds for the Seattle Kraken as he just got put on waivers, and then Matt Savoy traded out of was a very surprising trade. Kevin Adams was busy doing really just building that third and fourth lines out. Um, that's going to be the most noticeable thing I think this season is how different these third and fourth lines are going to be. So, who did we bring in? A lot of those third and fourth liners. Jason Zucker, who played with Arizona Nashville last season, signed a free agent contract. Sam Lafferty signed a free agent contract as well. He came over from Vancouver. Nicholas Obey-Kubel coming over from the Washington Capitals. Dennis Gilbert coming over from the Calgary Flames. James Reimer played last season with the Detroit Red Wings, coming into backup. My assumption is that Reimer is going to be the strict backup for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, while Devin Levi gets the majority, the lion's share of starts in Rochester. And if things need to change, then things need to change. But that's, I think, the plan going forward this season. Although Devin Levi is on the trip to Prague, so he'll be third goaltender there in Prague for the Buffalo Sabres. The NHL is allowing the two teams to expand their rosters a little bit and carry a third goaltender and a couple extra players, just because it's very hard to get a player on a plane over to Europe and get them into game shape to play those games. So um, but yeah, so James Reimer joins us, and then with that, the Matt Savoy trade, we got Ryan McLeod from Edmonton, who's a solid playoff contributor, and then Tyler Tullio, a prospect who played pretty well in the preseason when it was kind of the kid's turn. Um, he is yeah, was sent down to the Rochester Americans, but um, might be a serviceable young player. The problem for Tullio is that there are a lot of young players down on the Rochester Americans getting ice time to make an impact is going to be a very, very fierce competition. And finally, Beck Mallenstein was acquired during the NHL draft for a second round pick. He comes over from the Washington Capitals. Another sandpaper guy gonna play on the third or fourth line. We'll see here in a minute when we go over the lines for today's game. Um, but some good again, not earth-shattering free agent acquisitions, but really has just changed the face of the 3rd and 4th line, and I think has changed the face of how the Sabres will be playing this season. A lot more grit to this team. If this team, pulls a Milan Lucic and turtles when something happens, I'm going to be very disappointed. This team should very much stand up for itself when they get challenged. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the 3rd and 4th line transforms the rest of the team. The question for Kevin Adams is, did he do enough for the first 2 lines? Because, you lose Skinner, you get that cap space back, but he didn't really spend it on anybody, to bring in make a top line. Where he's thinking that we're gonna replace them through, core guys that are ready to make the jump. Turca's that guy. Does he if he becomes a much more consistent scorer than Jeff Skinner, that would be fantastic. Um Skinner, for all the goals he scored, he was rather streaky. So, and there were some seasons where he completely disappeared. Now, most of those seasons were last season was bad for him as well, but the Kruger years were especially bad for Jeff Skinner. But getting JJ Peterka on the first line to replace him, and then Zach Benson moves into Peterka's spot on that second line. Well earned. He had a fantastic season, and I think his play actually showed that the Sabres that Matt Savoy was expendable. I mean, Matt Savoy would have been somebody who had competed for a spot. There are a lot of players right now that can compete for a roster spot for the Sabres. When we talk about Juraj Kulik, Rusek to an extent, I'm not sure he's quite there. And it's going to be hard for him now that they've acquired so many players that are really in that third, fourth line role. Um, but Consta Helenius looked really good in preseason. Um, Isaac Forzan, I don't the jury's still out on him. It's gonna be a hyper competitive environment down in Rochester. And if somebody wants to get into this lineup that's rapidly the dance card is filling on the Buffalo Sabres. There people are gonna have to step up their game in Rochester to be able to make that impression. So let's see who re-signed this season. We got Jacob Bryson signed early 1 year, $900,000. Henry Haru also signs another 1 year deal for $3.1 million. I believe he'll be a free agent after next season. Let me check, make sure. Yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent next season. So um, maybe making room for somebody like a Ryan Johnson next season. Beck Malenstein was acquired by the Sabres in that draft trade. He signs a 2 years, $2.7 million total contract. UPL, big contract, and this is going to look really good. I think if UPL continues to play like he played at the end of last season, really being a workhorse, really taking over the Nets. Um, but a 5 year, 23.75 million, which is what 4.75 million for a goaltender, for a starting goaltender. That's a really good value. Yes, I know we got Devin Levi back there, and maybe at some point we have kind of that Swayman Olmark thing going here, UPL, but uh, very reasonable contract. And then Peyton Krebs just recently re-signed for 2 years at $2.9 million. So bridge deal for Peyton Krebs. I don't know. I think he. Oh no, he's still an RFA at the end of that deal. So, um, yeah, wasn't even quite a bridge deal to UFA. So we'll see what happens with Peyton Krebs. Peyton Krebs is, he's got to sing for a supper this season because he was a denizen of the third and fourth lines, and there's not a whole lot of room there. Sabres end up the offseason with $6.99485 million of cap space, and that will grow as the season progresses. Remember, as things get prorated, they can accept more cap space or cap heavy deals, which puts them in a strong position when it comes to the trade deadline. Puts them in a strong position right now. Again, there are players that will need to resign soon. Jack Quinn, JJ Peterka, they're restricted free agents at the end of the season. Ryan McLeod will be a restricted free agent. Let's see. Well, Zucker's an unrestricted free agent. Greenway is an unrestricted free agent. Yoki Haru and Bryson will be unrestricted free agents. Um, Bowen Byram will need to resign. He'll be a restricted free agent at the end of the year, and then Devin Levi is a restricted free agent at the end of the year. So, um, yes, good cap space. Cap's expected to grow next season as well. Um, but the Sabres do need to be careful. You can get a rental player, but unless you're going to stunt the growth of some of the prospects, I don't know that you want to splash a bunch of money on a player that's got multi years left on their contract, unless they're like a completely special player of some sort. All right, so today's game, this afternoon's game for us here in the United States is going to be the let's take a look at the lineups here for the Buffalo Sabres. So these are projected. We don't have the official lines set out just yet. They'll be set out probably sometime this morning, but projected lines were Paterka Thompson Tuck on that first line. Benson slots in where Paterka was last season with Cousins and Quinn. Hopefully, Quinn can have a healthy season. Last season, he had showed flashes, but it was those two major injuries that um, really hampered the Sabres' progress. Because when Quinn was in the lineup, the Sabres were a lot better. Zucker, McLeod, and Greenway. Jordan Greenway moves into that third line wing spot. And Beck Malenstein, Sean Lafferty, and Nicholas Obey-Kubel. Completely brand new fourth line with lots of grit. One name you don't see there, recently signed Peyton Krebs. Now, that's not to say he doesn't appear in the game on Saturday. Doesn't say that, because Kulik I don't know if Roseanne traveled, but uh, Rusek, traveled. Not to say either one of those guys get, a little bit of time, but if Sabres drop the first game, then I don't think I don't know that they put in Kulik or Roseanne or, Rusek. The, defensive pairs, much like last season, Darlene Henryuki Haru, Bowen Byram, and Owen Power, Matthias Samuelson, and Connor Clifton. Now, question for this set of pairs, is can Matthias Samuelson stay healthy? I don't think he's played a full NHL season yet. He plays a rugged physical game, but he's also spends a lot of time on the shelf, and that's a concern. Where with this the third season where we've seen this, so my that's my concern on the back end because the Sabres do play better when Matthias Samuelson's in the lineup and healthy. Um, uh, Back in 22-23, when they were rolling, it was with Matthias Samuelsson in the lineup, and whenever they stumbled, Matthias Samuelsson was not in the lineup. So, I think he's a linchpin on the back end to make sure that all 3 pairs are performing at a high level. Still not really trusting, Jacob Bryson. Um, he did have a little bit better last season than he did the season before, but we'll see what goes on with Bryson this year. It looks like he's going to be the seventh defenseman in this rotation. Sabres goalies, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen will get the start on Friday. I'm absolutely sure of that. The question is who backs him up? Is it going to be James Reimer or will it be Devin Levi? Levi is on the trip because they're allowed an extra goalie. And so Devin's there. It doesn't hurt because Rochester really hasn't started their season yet. So get them a couple games over in Europe, send them back to Rochester when they get back to the States. What Sunday, I guess, as they prepare for a Thursday game against the Los Angeles Kings. So hopefully, with a couple wins under their belt, that would be nice. Uh, Question also is with the back-to-back game, does Lukanen play both games, or do they give a game to Levi or Reimer? With it being early season, you might see Lukanen take both. For the Devils, their forwards, this was posted today on Daily Faceoff. Um, Timo Myers, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Thomas Tatar, Nico Hischier, and Dalton Mercer, uh, Andre Palat, Eric Holla, Stefan Nason, I think it's Paul Cotter, I believe, uh, Curtis Lazar, former Sabre alert, and Nicholas Bastian on that third line or on the fourth line. Again, a very I don't like Bastian. Bastian tends to score against the Sabres, or he's very involved when the Sabres play. So a guy that we need to circle on that lineup, even though he's on the fourth line. Defense for the Devils, they've had some issues here. So their big free agent acquisition, Brett Pesce, is out, recovering from a broken fibula, and he might be back soon, but not. I don't think he's playing in this setup this series here. So it'll be Dylan and Hamilton on the top pairing, Jonas Siegenthaler and Kovacevic on the second pairing, and Casey and Nemec on the third pairing. Also missing is Luke Hughes, Jack Hughes' brother. He's out 6 to 8 weeks with a shoulder injury. So Sabres are fortunate that the Devils will be missing two of their biggest defensemen, their biggest free agent acquisition, and then their young phenom in Luke Hughes. Devils goaltenders definitely an upgrade over last season. Jake Allen was acquired at the trade deadline. He moves into the backup role as the Devils acquired Jacob Markstrom for the Calgary Flames in the offseason. So that was long rumored. Not surprised to see him in there. Markstrom's a streaky guy. I mean, he has like a good season and a bad season. So we're not sure which season. He had a rough season like most of Calgary last season. So is he able to turn it around? He's going to have a new team in front of him. Maybe he performs well, but we'll see what happens with Jacob Markstrom. If he falters, then Jake Allen, NHL veteran, um, and a guy who's had Buffalo's number. So hopefully we see Markstrom both games. But I'll probably regret saying that. And not tonight's odds, today's odds. Per DraftKings, Buffalo is a goal and a half underdog, getting a goal and a half on the road. Well, they're both on the road in Czechia. The over under is at 6.5 as I looked at it this evening. And on the money line, Buffalo is a plus 124. So play responsibly if you're playing DraftKings. I don't bet because I suck at it. So, um, but information for you to enjoy your hockey games a little further if you're into that. All right, my three Ks to the season. We need a good start. We had a bad start last year. It's not so much bad. There was a couple losses to start the season. But it really after that the couple losses to open the season, it was just like a win loss, win loss, win loss. It was like a fence post of win loss, win loss. Um, Consistently inconsistent. Need a good start to the season. Need to get key players off to a good start. Your Tage Thompsons, your Alex Tucks, JJ Paterka, your second line. You need to get those guys off to a good start. You need the third and fourth lines to be sending messages and making teams wilt under the pressure. That's what you're looking for in the first few games of the season. You need the defense to move the puck and keep the puck out of the zone. Make good passes. Don't do dangerous things like skating up the middle and against a forechecker. Like get rid of the puck. Get it to the next guy so they can get it up the ice. So yeah, that's what you're looking for. Good start, solid start. Don't string together losses. String together wins. Consistent effort. That was again, they were consistently inconsistent last year. We need a consistent positive effort on the ice every night, all four lines rolling, um, or as close to all four lines rolling, all three defensive pairs rolling, goaltender engaged, everyone fighting for one another. Um, because we saw too much disjointedness last season, and it resulted in things like that 9-3 blowout by Columbus. Um, so that's what we're looking for, and then push teams around. This is kind of uncharted territory for the Sabres ever since the whole Milan Lucic thing. We really haven't a team that could push teams around. The grit that we've added to the bottom two lines hopefully will help the top two lines play with a little more confidence, knowing that there are guys out there that will have their six and guys that will exact revenge if things need to be exacted. So, yeah, push teams around. Let's get them on the back foot. Let's say, let's have teams saying, we don't want to play the Buffalo Sabres. They're a tough team to play. So, um, I think I think it's high time that we see that. All right, on this date, it's not a whole lot of dates that start this early. The NHL season used to start a lot earlier. This season, it's nice that they started earlier because they've got the Four Nations tournament in February. But on October 4th, 2006, Chris Drury and Jason Palmville scored in regulation, and Danny Briere got the shootout winner as in the Slug debut. The glorious Slug jerseys debuted in a game in Carolina against the defending Stanley Cup champions as they raised the banner that night. Sabres fans sent the Carolina fans home disappointed with a 3-2 victory. It was a fantastic game. I remember that was a really good game to watch. Set the tone for the season, and hopefully the Sabres can do the same thing on this October 4th to set a positive tone for a winning season for the Buffalo Sabres. And finally, let's take a look at the week ahead. The Saturday is game two. It is an early start, very early start, 10 a.m. on the East Coast. Uh, 7 a.m. on the in Pacific, and I don't even want to think about it in Hawaii. Um, yeah, you might as well not go to bed if you're watching the game in Hawaii. So, and then Thursday night, 7 o'clock, Los Angeles will be in Buffalo for the Sabres' actually official home opener. I think the Sabres are listed as the home team in both of these games for New Jersey. A lot of those New York area teams have, and Toronto as well, which is why Buffalo was the home team in that Heritage Classic that they played against Toronto. New York area teams and Toronto have agreements that they can't play home games anywhere other than their main building. So I think Buffalo is listed as the home team for both of these games. So technically, Buffalo will have three home games to start off the first week of the season, although two will be in Czechia. Our next episode is going to be tomorrow night at 9 a.m. I'm not looking forward to that. It's a Saturday, but it's the start of a vacation for me. So right on. But yeah, if you're interested in becoming a co-host, I like having people come on to chat. Just send me, hey, reach out on my socials as you're watching this, or you can send me an email to the email address there, davidtvalente@gmail.com. Love to have you on the show. Love to talk hockey, and it's good to do a show like that with a friend. So reach out to me, and I will be happy to talk to you about the show and kind of the time commitments involved. So. Anyway, that is it for the show this week. Go watch the Sabres pregame show with Duffer and Marty. And have a great day, guys. And go Buffalo. Let's get the season started off right. See you tomorrow night or tomorrow morning.